The men who stormed the Bastille, who toppled a king, who rewrote the entire moral architecture of the Western world, built a guillotine for the women who took them seriously. The same men who signed the Declaration of the Rights of Man decided that a woman's intellect was a crime against the state. They called her dangerous. They called her a traitor to her sex. And then they cut off her head. That is the story they wanted you to hear, the one where she is a footnote, a cautionary tale, a woman who got above herself and paid the price. But the truth behind the smoke of the Paris guillotine is a political thriller of betrayal and intellectual courage, where a woman had to be more audacious than the revolutionaries themselves to remind the world that rights have no gender. It is that they needed to kill her, because her argument was unanswerable. The National Assembly drafted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, a document that would shape modern democracy for centuries. It was also written by men, for men, about men. Article 1 stated that men are born and remain free and equal in rights. Women had marched to Versailles in October 1789 and dragged the royal family back to Paris at knife point through rain and mud over 12 miles. In an action that arguably saved the revolution at its most vulnerable moment. Women had sustained the revolutionary economy with their labor, their networks, their clubs, and their courage. And the National Assembly looked at all of this and produced a founding document that did not include them. In 1791, Olympe de Gouges responded, not with a petition, not with a letter of protest, with a mirror. She wrote the Declaration of the Rights of Woman and of the Female Citizen, structured article by article as an exact counterpart to the original declaration, replacing home with femme at every turn. Article 1. Woman is born free and remains equal to man in rights. It was a precise, legally literate, philosophically rigorous exposure of the central contradiction at the heart of the revolution. If the principles of natural rights are truly universal, on what rational or moral grounds do you exclude half the human species from their application? There was no coherent answer. There is only the sound of men changing the subject. And that is exactly what the Jacobins did, with exceptional and deliberate violence. The Girondins had been purged. Maximilien Robespierre and the Committee of Public Safety had seized control and inaugurated the period history would call the Reign of Terror. Every intellectual who had not perfectly aligned themselves with the Jacobin program was a potential enemy of the people. Olympe de Gouges chose neither. She wrote a pamphlet attacking Robespierre directly by name. She called him a tyrant. She argued that the revolution had transformed itself into a machine for producing corpses and dignifying the process as justice.